You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Welcome back. It's ground control of the Code RAD program. Today we're going to talk about something different, Tales from the Crypt. But first, I would like to point out to you that I have a comic book available. These are the current offerings of the Code RAD Publishing Empire. Interplanet, Volume 1, comic book about a epic Cold War in space. And also on the right is Tales of Conspiracy and Madness, a collection of short stories of cosmic horror. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining me. This is the Code RAD show. I'm flying solo tonight, and I would like to talk to you about Tales from the Crypt, or Crypt of Terror, as it is put here. Undertaking PALOR, which I don't know what that means. I think PALOR is like an alternative spelling, I guess maybe more common in the 1950s for pallor, PALLOR, which is I always consider to be pale skin color, I think is what the word means. So I get it's supposed to be like undertaking parlor, pallor. It's not the greatest pun ever, but beautiful artwork there. You can see Jack Davis's autograph down there in the bottom by those cool skulls, and this awesome image of kids peeking in through a window. One of them actually saying, "I don't want to look. I'm scared." Like even in the 1950s, that's going a bit far. I love these comic books, and it does work as dialogue in a comic book. But just to imagine a kid saying something like that. Here, one of the other kids calls him a sissy for being scared. And I mean, that's the least of what he could expect. So this is a story. I kind of got a Stand By Me vibe from this for teenage boys who go to see a dead body. That's not the point of their expedition, but they do see a dead body in this story. This is the early 90s. You know, of course, the comic book was 1959, I think. But here they are in the 1990s drinking Pepsi and this kid's not the only time we're going to see Pepsi in this episode. The kid in the middle is the butt of a few fat jokes throughout the show, which, you know, is kind of similar to Stand By Me. Here he is trying to scrape out every last greasy kernel, and I believe he even tries to drink the butter that's coagulated on the bottom of the bucket. So, yeah, it's the 1990s. So kids are sneaking into horror movies. Is that even a thing anymore nowadays? It's a little bit hard to imagine. I don't know how healthy the whole movie industry is as far as, you know, movie theaters. But back in 92, which I think is when this episode came out, yeah, that was what you would do on a Friday or Saturday night, or maybe even a weeknight. The kid on the left is wearing a leather jacket, so he would not have any problem with going to sneak into a horror movie on a weeknight. So, after they leave the movie theater, they get stalked by a mysterious figure in a hoodie with red eyes. But it turns out to be this guy, Jonathan Kwan. Short round, of course. I guess he's also famous for Goonies. That's never been big on my list, although this episode does have sort of a Goonies vibe. I don't think it's accidental. Kids sneaking around, getting up to things they're not supposed to do. Even though Tales from the Crypt or the old EC comic books have a reputation, you know, of being horror, I don't think they very often dealt with the supernatural. Now, part of the reason why I'm talking about Tales from the Crypt on the Code Rad show is I like to discover new things, watch things I've never seen before. As far as, we do a lot of episodes of Doctor Who, of which I've seen most of them, but that was a long time ago. Huge Doctor Who fan. My heyday came around the time when you watch the shows when they aired on your local PBS affiliate, and if you missed it, you missed it. And if you were lucky enough to see it, the only way to see it again would be is if you taped it in the VCR. And those blank videotapes were not cheap back in the day. That was quite a purchase to save up your money and buy a VHS tape. And so, taping on SLP, it's amazing. I can remember that from 30, 35 years ago. And SLP, you could fit like what, 6-8 hours? I think 8 hours on a videotape. But still, it was expensive. And where was I going with this? So my point was, I try to watch things that I haven't seen before or I haven't seen in a long time. And Tales from the Crypt came from a period in my life where my family did not have HBO. I did not have HBO when I moved out. So I missed pretty much the whole Tales from the Crypt phenomenon. I saw a few episodes on DVD, might have been at a friend's house, saw an odd Tales from the Crypt, but I was aware of this phenomenon. I think it was a pretty big deal. Everyone loves the old EC comic books. You would see the reprints around, at a store, at your friend's house, in your own collection. So yeah, the EC comic books and 50s horror comic books were great in general, but I missed out on the TV show mostly. And so now they're all available on YouTube. For some reason, I think there's some kind of rights issue going on, but I think you could see just about every single episode on YouTube. And so I picked this random episode, which I already pointed out has a strange name. And we have a promising start. We got Stand By Me with because it's also the era of Kevin Smith and all that. We could see our character here. I believe his name is Josh, has a video camera. That's right. It's not an iPhone. That's what we used to do if we wanted to make a movie as teenagers in the 90s or 80s. You had one of these huge video cameras. And so trust me, that is going to come into play later. So what do? You're 4 teenage boys. You just got out of a horror movie. You've got a video camera. You are going to make a horror movie by sneaking into a funeral home, undertaking PALOR. And so we have this great reveal. This is pretty awesome. They sneak into the mortuary, pull back the sheet, and there is the town librarian, all dead, eyes open, super creepy. Fantastic. HBO provides a few really HBO type things in this episode. Back before Game of Thrones and Sopranos, HBO was the place where you went for, some extra violence and TNA. And this episode has the shocks, the violence. Here's the other guy we recognize, aside from Short Round. Here is John Glover, who I don't know what he's most famous for. I kind of think of him as, I think he was in Scrubs, and you see him all over, and I don't know if there's something he's particularly famous for, but of course he is central casting for Strange Mortician. He enters the episode with a can of Pepsi and a pizza, and fixing up this corpse, getting her ready for the funeral is just a party to this guy. He is dancing around. He finds it a little bit odd that that the cadaver had the sheet pulled down. The boys have scattered. They're hiding. Oh, as a matter of fact, pretty cool shot. Nice framing. You can see right over his shoulder. extreme left of the screen, there's a face, kid hiding behind a curtain. I mean, do mortuaries have just curtains all around? Well, in Tales from the Crypt, they do. So the kids are shivering, shaking in their boots as this wacky mortician interacts with the cadaver. He slices open her stomach to release the gas that's accumulated in her abdomen. Super disgusting. Starts sucking out all her guts and blood. Again, super disgusting. The kind of stuff that you subscribe to HBO for back in the day. And so then someone else comes in. We never see who this guy is in this particular scene, but our mortician is talking to him, and we learn their secret dastardly plot of poisoning people, killing people in the neighborhood, messing with their pharmaceuticals. Something that you could have on HBO. I don't think when you have a commercial network, you're allowed to say anything bad about pharmaceuticals. But in this show, you could. They are going to mess with people's pharmaceuticals, make them die, and then overcharge their family for the funerals and split it. Quite a plan they have there to make money. This is the dastardly doings in small town. Tales from the Crypt, way worse than Twin Peaks. And so the next day, three of our main characters go back to see Joshua, who turns out his dad just died. His dad was the victim of the attack. And they killed his dad with his asthma meds, and they're going to rip off the family. But of course, our heroes speak right into the video camera here, discuss their plan to get revenge against the mortician, John Glover, and his evil partner. And I'm going to end my narrative there, discussing this episode. It's a well-written episode. It's very impressive that these comic books came out in the 1950s. Just an amazing, a very tightly constructed story. But I mean, if you care about this kind of thing, I don't think anything that happens from this point forward in the episode would be a huge shock to you. But it's worth looking at. Tales from the Crypt, Undertaking PALOR, not difficult to find. Let me know if you enjoyed this episode, if I should keep doing some Tales from the Crypt episodes. Should I return to the Champions? I would kind of like to watch another episode of Champions. Plus, I got a ton of other shows I'd like to talk about. So thanks for joining us here at the Code RAD Show. I hope to see you again. Bye, everyone.